very beginning, America was built on the idea that changed the world, that faith could flourish without fear of government control. As we approach our nation's 250th birthday, Faith and Freedom 250 examines how that promise has been tested and why it still matters today.
One of the foundational pillars of the American nation from its earliest days was the religious liberty guaranteed by the First Amendment. The idea that government would neither ordain nor require one religion over another, and that citizens could freely express their faith without interference from the state, was revolutionary.
The founders understood the primacy of this right. They discussed it, debated it, and wrote about it extensively in the first generation of the nation. Letters, speeches, and legislation were filled with religious references. The name of God appeared in many forms, from the Almighty to Providence. His name became woven throughout early American history as religion was part of the national consciousness. Over time, however, this liberty, once fiercely defended, became contested.
Many founders believed religious faith was essential to virtue, and that virtue was essential to freedom. Faith, virtue, and freedom were bound together. The First Amendment was written to protect the free exercise of faith from government interference, not to protect government from faith, as is often claimed today.
Early America was deeply rooted in Christian culture. One of the great attractions for those leaving the old world was the promise of worship without persecution. The rapid growth of the United States can be traced in part to this liberty and the other freedoms guaranteed in the Bill of Rights.
But unintended consequences emerged. As the nation grew, it became more diverse. New Christian denominations formed. Immigrants brought additional religious traditions. As America became less religiously homogeneous, friction followed, not only between citizens of different faiths, but increasingly between the state and religion itself.
Late in the 19th century, many states adopted so-called no-aid or Blaine amendments to their constitutions. These laws were named after Speaker of the House James G. Blaine, who in 1875 had proposed an unsuccessful federal amendment that would prohibit states from funding religious schools, particularly Roman Catholic ones. Though Blaine's federal amendment failed at the federal level, some states still adopted his ideas at the state level, ultimately achieving Blaine's goal of barring public funds from going to so-called sectarian schools, and included language widely understood at the time to target Catholic institutions. Today, Blaine amendments remain in 37 state constitutions. They've been used to challenge school choice programs, though recent Supreme Court decisions have narrowed their reach, ruling that when states offer generally available benefits, they cannot exclude religious schools simply because they are religious.
In 1892, the Supreme Court referred to the United States as a, quote, Christian nation in Church of the Holy Trinity versus United States. This was not a legal ruling, but an observation, reflecting how deeply religious faith shaped American culture at the time.
A major shift came in the mid-20th century. In 1962, Engel versus Vitaly barred state-written, school-sponsored prayer. The following year, Abington versus Shimp prohibited school-sponsored Bible readings. These rulings did not ban students from private prayer on religious expression, but they removed government-led devotionals from public schools.
Over time, those decisions expanded beyond schools. Other public institutions came under scrutiny. Government buildings, civic spaces, and even public displays faced growing pressure to remove Christian symbols, language, and traditions from American life. Public expressions of Christian belief increasingly became suspect, even outside formal government settings.
In academia, entertainment, and much of the media, moral relativism gained influence. America's religious heritage was increasingly viewed as something to be left behind. By the 21st century, laws, regulations, and social norms placed growing pressure on religious institutions and individual Christians to conform to a secular worldview. For example, in 2006, Catholic Charities of Boston ended state-contracted adoption services after Massachusetts declined conscience exemptions under non-discrimination laws. Across the country, private business owners found themselves in court for attempting to live out their faith.
At the same time, the Supreme Court has reaffirmed religious liberty in important cases. In Rosenberger versus University of Virginia in 1995, the court protected a Christian student publication from viewpoint discrimination. In Burwell versus Hobby Lobby in 2014, it upheld religious liberty protections under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act for family-owned businesses. And in Kennedy versus Bremerton School District in 2022, the court ruled that the brief personal prayer of a public school coach after a game was protected both by free exercise and free speech. Religious freedom endures, but it remains constantly contested.
Despite such successes, anti-Christian persecution remains a reality today in the United States. It may not take the form of violence, but it is often social, professional, and psychological persecution. Because Christians hold defined moral convictions grounded in Scripture, their detractors frequently portray them as intolerant or anti-progressive. The result is a quieter kind of persecution: mockery, exclusion, and self-censorship. Public expression of religious faith can cost a person a career. Social commentary ridicules believers as naive or outdated. Christian ethics, once the foundation of civic virtue, are increasingly described as obstacles to progress. Careers can be lost. Faith can be ridiculed. Christian ethics, once central to civic life, are now portrayed as obstacles to progress.
While this is not persecution in the violent sense known to Christian believers abroad, it is persecution in the sense of marginalization, a steady narrowing of where people of faith feel welcome and a chilling effect on those who speak it aloud. In a world where every comment and image lives forever online, lives have been changed and careers have been ended because of intolerance toward religious faith. Legal, social, professional, and academic forms of discrimination exist. Anti-Christian persecution remains a real and growing threat within the United States.
History shows, however, that persecution doesn't destroy the church, it often strengthens it. After Jesus Christ's crucifixion, his followers could have faded into obscurity. Instead, they carried his message of resurrection and eternal salvation to the rest of the known world. The lions of the Colosseum, the Roman legions, and countless prison cells did not stop the advancement of the gospel of Jesus Christ. The vitality of Christianity has never been measured by the comfort of its followers, but rather by their courage. Late in the 2nd century, Tertullian. Late in the 2nd century, Tertullian, an early church father, wrote, "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church."
The protections our founders enshrined to guarantee a free and open society have now become challenged daily in the political arena. The historical movements which propelled this nation toward greater justice, abolition, suffrage, civil rights, were each fueled by religious conviction. Ironically, many who benefited from those faith-driven causes now join the chorus against religious freedom itself.
The rise of anti-Christian persecution in America is not yet the loss of freedom, but it is a warning bell. Liberty cannot endure if people of faith are pushed aside. Religious faith helped build this nation, and it can help renew it. This is Faith and Freedom 250 from the Herzog Foundation.